You've got ideas, you've got ambition, you've got no time, or so you think. I'm Marissa Lonick, and I help busy moms with big dreams and no time. Join me each week as I dive into time management strategies, goal setting and achieving framework, and inspiring guests who are juggling mom life, work life, fill in the blank life. Dreams don't work unless you do, and just because you're a mom doesn't mean you can't still make it happen, whatever it means to you. Welcome to the Mama Work It podcast. Hey, mama friends, and welcome back to another episode of the Mama Work It podcast. This week, I am chatting with the amazing Emily Siegel. Emily is a friendship mentor and coach, podcast host, corporate mom of two adorable little boys, and lover of all things Broadway musicals. As the leader of the Connected Mom Life community, she helps busy moms create the circle of friends they crave. Emily firmly believes we weren't made to mom alone, and she's on a mission to see that we stop trying to. If you are in a space where you wish you had more time for friends or feel like you're not even sure where to start to create those friendships you're craving, Emily is going to dive into exactly how to make that happen in your busy juggle of mom life, work life, wife life, fill in the blank life. I cannot wait to talk about this topic, Emily. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I love talking about all things friends.
Yeah. Okay. Well, first things first, I'd love for you to tell us just a little bit more about you and what led you to start the Connected Mom Life.
Yeah, so you kind of mentioned all the things about me. We're just outside of Dallas, Texas, two boys, and I work a 9 to 5 as well. But yeah, backing up, I won't go through the whole long story, but kind of 10 years ago or so, my husband and I moved from our hometown to a state where we knew no one and kind of like had to start our friend group from scratch. And we didn't have kids at the time. We didn't have a dog. And it was just like so hard. And I was just like, couldn't believe how hard it was. And so I ended up like just kind of like doing research on friends and adulthood. And like, it actually helped give me a lot more confidence that, oh, yeah, you're not. I was just starting to think I was crazy. Like all the friends that I had in my life were just like a fluke, And so it was just really nice to just figure out, oh no, making friends in adulthood is just weird and hard and none of us know how to do it. So once I like felt more confident in that, then I was just more confident and more forward. And then the friends like easily came. And then we moved again. This time we had a kid and I was just like, oh shoot, like there's a lot of moms out here that haven't learned like the rules of adult friendship yet. And now it's extra hard because now we have kids and we have less time and it just feels that much more overwhelming. And that's really just kind of like where my passion for the Connected Mom Life came, was because I was like, oh my gosh, motherhood, it's like the loneliest thing we're doing, despite the fact that we never have a minute alone. And we like literally don't know how to connect with each other, even though we're all craving it, but we all just think it's us. And so that's why I started the Connect Mom Life. I wanted to normalize the fact that like it's okay to need friends throughout your life. You're not weird, you're not strange. And the fact that it's hard, that's not you. That's just kind of what we've created for ourselves.
Yeah. And I know we're going to dive into this more in depth, but this is so intriguing to me that as an adult, it is totally different to make friends, and
Mhm.
it's a little awkward and it's a little scary and it's like off putting. So it's really cool to me that you found yourself in that situation. You did some digging, you did some research, you also experienced it yourself, and you
Mhm.
came out on the other side of it now full of friendships. And I love that you help other people who are in those shoes that think there's something wrong with them. But you're like, actually, no,
Mhm.
this is a phenomenon. Like
Yeah,
adulting and making friends as an adult is a weird thing.
it's totally weird. Yeah, just trying to normalize that conversation. Like, it's not you, it's all of us, actually.
Awesome. Okay. So you're a full-time working mom of two, plus you run the Connected Mom Life and you practice what you preach. You really prioritize your friendships. How? What is the secret? I feel like this is often something that really falls to the wayside for moms, like cultivating relationships and friendships that are important, but they feel like maybe, hit the bottom of the to-do list when they have so many other things going on.
Yeah, and that's so understandable. I also want to normalize. I do invest in my friendships, but I also give myself a lot of grace in busy seasons. And, I understand that the amount of time I'm going to be with friends during different points will look different. I think what I know to be true is that it's really easy to just always feel like it's a busy season as a mom. And so I've gotten really clear on like, oh, okay, like, no, this is a legit busy season where I'm going to have to say no to invitations or I'm not going to be able to extend invitations. Because I think like part of the challenge of friends with in motherhood is like, we're always just feeling guilty about like, oh, shoot, I was going to reach out and then I didn't. Now too much time has gone past. Now it's awkward. So I give myself a lot of grace. But my other kind of way that I manage it without feeling like I'm managing one more thing on top of my career and kids and all the things that just like have to get managed for a house is it's like what I do in all areas of my life and it's batching. So I always just get really clear on like, okay, in this season, what am I craving in friendship? I just always ask myself like what matters to me right now. And like usually there's a friendship that I'm like trying to like nurture a little bit more. And there's one that I maybe just trying to maintain. And so once I know that, then I mean this sounds so like silly to say all of this out loud, but like once a month when I'm just like planning my life, calendaring out like where do all the kids need to be, who's traveling when, what babysitters do we need? I'm like, okay, where can friends go in this? And then I shoot them the text usually that day. So I usually plan like time with friends like maybe I plan it once a month. I see friends more often throughout the month, but I'm not like constantly like, oh shoot, I need to send that text or oh shoot, I need to send that like I need to send that boxer or whatever. It's just like really the planning is intentional and just like happens once a month.
Yeah. And you're really intentional about who,
Yes.
which is
Mhm.
interesting, right? Because we don't need to be everyone's best friend all the time.
No. No. Yeah, exactly. There's so much freedom in that. That's actually really what I work really closely with moms on and supporting them because so much of what feels overwhelming is like there's so many options out there for friends that we could nurture. And like then we just do nothing because we get paralyzed by how many people there are to invest in. And I just get really clear on like, okay, it's been a while since I've seen her. I miss her. All right, let's make that happen. But just like taking a moment to get quiet and like just know I've got time to think about it and think about who. And then I just do the planning at that point. It just makes it all like move a lot smoother.
Yeah. This is so interesting because I feel like we're so aligned in how we think about things, but I focus on time management and productivity, and you focus on friendships, but we have so many similar tactics and sort of
Yeah.
methods we're using and systems we're using to address
Hmm.
these things. So I love this conversation so much, even more now.
Yeah. I feel like it aligns so yeah, with exactly what you're doing because like it's all about naming what matters and like yes, not doing it all. Like that's the whole point. And it's like we're doing that in so many areas. Oh, hopefully people are doing that in so many areas. It's just like easy to add friendship onto it.
And I really like how you said too, like, what do I need right now? Because I think about myself in those situations. And there are times I don't do this on a monthly basis. I do it more like weekly, where I take that inventory a little bit about how I'm feeling and what I need. And sometimes I need to just gab, right? Like superficial, like have like a I don't mean superficial in the sense that like I talk about gossip or things like that, but just something light, right? And I need like a light friend to just like take a walk around the neighborhood with or like talk about school stuff or stuff like that. And then there are
Hmm.
times I need a deeper connection and I'm going to be contacting like an older friend that really knows my history or things about me. And so really checking in with yourself is so crucial and important. I love that you do that and I love that you're advising other moms to do that too.
Yeah. It's so freeing in so many ways. It just is like so freeing. Yeah. And then it
Yeah.
happens too because you're not like trying to do it all.
Okay. So you've moved twice. You mentioned this. I've also moved cross country, so I totally feel you on that. What if you're craving new friendships? Like maybe you're someone listening and you've recently moved to a new city, or maybe you've entered a new season of motherhood that's different from friends you were previously really close with, and you're just not gelling as much in this season. So, where do you start?
It comes back to that intentionality of like, what are you really craving? So when you do just move, you're like, well, I'm craving like in real life people here, like I've got to, like my whole circle that I had has to be completely recreated, and that can feel really overwhelming. So what I like to do when I'm starting from scratch is I actually like to put in some reinforcements. So like my friends that I've moved away from now, or my longtime friends, I talk with them actually today. I talked with them consistently. This didn't happen with my moves, through Voxer, which is like a voice messaging app. It is like literally the best app for moms. I talk about it all the time because there's this myth out there that moms have no time. And the
Yes.
reality is that we have a ton of time. It's just so often that time is not, we don't always know when it's going to be. So it's not predictable. So hard, particularly for someone who likes to know what's coming. And it's like often in bursts, these like short bursts. It's like, what am I going to do at this time? I can't do anything productive. And I didn't know it was coming. So I'm not ready for it. And that's why I love Voxer is it's like these in between moments where it's like, oh, I have nothing to do. Well, let me listen to what my friend just said to me, or let me talk back. And like, I go through my entire day talking to friends all day, and just through Voxer. And so what I do, like when I move, is I like lean hard into those friendships that I know I can like be myself in, and just I let myself get filled up by them, because that gives me energy to then put myself out there in newer, more uncomfortable circles where I'm just trying to like see, is there anything there? Is there a spark here? Should we explore this? Like it's work. I'm not going to deny that making friends is not work. I don't in any way mean to imply that it's easy or whatever, but I do think it can be easier when you only focus on like a few things at a time. So you ask yourself, okay, what do I need? I need in real person friends. Oh, it would be nice if they also had kids the same age as mine. That would be even better if they like kind of lived nearby. So now I'm going to like focus my efforts on our neighborhood or on our school, and then give myself like a little micro goal of like, okay, when I go pick up my kid today, all I have to do is smile at one person. Like, you just like break it down so it's not so overwhelming, and you just start to like slowly put yourself out there, while at the same time keeping yourself filled up a little bit with some of those like longer standing friendships, because you're doing a hard thing. And so like you need to like also just be reminded like you've got some safe spaces to go to.
Yeah, and you're not like going to the supermarket hungry.
Yes,
Like
exactly.
like you're not
Yes.
going so hungry for friendship
Yes.
that like you're
Yeah.
overwhelming, like you're smiling
Mhm.
too hard.
Yes. Yeah. That's actually, I just wrapped up work with two moms that I was mentoring. And that was like their biggest takeaway of like, oh, I'm not bringing like a desperate energy anymore. And it's like, oh, yeah, that desperate energy, like, honestly, it doesn't like serve you very well in when you're trying to make those friends. It can serve you really well in like getting you to take some action, which is great. But yeah, to your point, we're not showing up starving, and like
Yeah.
can actually like relax and like be a little bit more detached. And like if it works out, cool. If it doesn't, like it's fine. Next person, moving
Yeah.
on.
Thank you next. Totally. All
Yeah.
right.
Hmm.
All right, so most of our listeners are working moms. And I think that a lot of times, right, they may feel like it's harder to make mom friends because maybe they're not doing the drop offs or pickups, or they don't have the same availability for play dates. So, what are your tips for these mamas?
Yeah. So my experience is I started as a stay at home mom, kind of first year and a half, and then made like a whole network. So I moved, was a stay at home mom, made a whole circle, and then a year and a half in went back to work. And I was like, darn, I got to start this thing all over again. And it's not like the stay at home moms weren't also like still friends today, but I was craving some same season mom friends who were working too. And yeah, then the time was less. So it was super hard. What I have done in the past, so this has been with littles. What I really like to do is if my kids are going to like a daycare because I'm working, there's probably other kids there that they're hanging out with. If they can like tell you who their friends are, like if they're that old, cool. But if not, like sometimes I'll ask the teacher as like, how's he doing? And then he'll tell me, oh, he and this other little girl are just like the best friends. And I'm like, okay, good to know. And then what I will do is I will actually like write a note to the parent of the kids. And I'll just say like, hey, I'm Emily, I'm Robbie's mom. And he talks about, your little one all the time. I thought it could be fun to get them together for like a park date on the week, like on Saturday. Any interest? And then I leave my phone number. And like, that's what I love to do as a working mom. Like, do not rely on trying to run into other parents at a like pickup drop off situation, because the reality is that no one is their best self at daycare, pickup, or drop off. We're either stressed because we're just trying to get to work and we're already late, or we're stressed that, like, oh my gosh, I got to get home and like somehow feed these people. So what I like about the like daycare notes is it's a really nice way to like share contact information and like use the kid as a crutch without like having to having to be your best self like before or after work. So
Right.
that's the one thing I like to do, at least with the littles. I think it gets a little easier when they're older because then you're like interacting with parents at some of the like kid events. But I find my like working moms of younger kids are just like, I don't know what to do. And that is like my go-to strategy. It works every time. It's worked for so many moms I work with too. So it's a good one.
Yeah, that does sound like a good one. And I agree.
Mhm.
You are often like rushing, and then I feel like you give the impression too sometimes, because you're rushing or your mind is someplace else during those pickups or drop-offs, that you don't seem interested in
Yeah.
making friends, which actually isn't true, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I've had so many moms come to me and they're like, nobody else is interested. Like, I'm like, are you sure? Or like, maybe they're just stressed. I'm like, how are you feeling? And they're like, oh, yeah, no, that's stressful. Like, yeah,
Yeah, I
exactly.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's easy to always internalize that and think it's you, but
Hmm.
actually it's
Yes.
most definitely not.
Yes. It's like
Yeah.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah. What about like mistakes? What's the biggest mistake that you see moms make when it comes to friendship?
We just talked about it. The fact that it's like thinking it's you. And like kind of the biggest mistake I made, this was my version of thinking it was me, was everybody else seems set. Everybody else seems good. So I think it's just me that is wanting friends, but everybody else, I guess, is good. So, yep, it's me. And like nothing is further from the truth. The research even like supports this. Like I think it's a crazy wild statistic. Like 75 to 80% of women actually want more in friendship. They want more friends, they want more depth. So we're all actually craving more, but like that doesn't look good on social media. What looks good on social media is like, I fit in, I belong. Like it's human nature to want to belong and to fit in. It's what we're all craving. And so we're seeing like images of people that appear to belong and appear to fit in. And the reality is that if we ask ourselves, like our social media probably looks that same way too, but we just don't feel that way. But we're not talking about that. And the reality is that that's the biggest mistake most moms are making, is they're thinking it's them. Like you're the only one. You are not the only one. And it is safer out there than we often think it is.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to feel, well, you never really feel comfortable when you're acting vulnerable, when you're being vulnerable, right? And I think the scariest part is just actually like saying the thing or admitting the thing or like feeling the thing, even like out loud. Once you do that, it's like, oh, cool, moving on. Right?
Yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious, what's your opinion on like mom clubs or mom groups?
Yeah. I think they can be good places to meet people. I think they can be really nice in some ways, particularly for like people that have just a little bit more introverted energy that they're bringing, or like just really struggle with small talk. In general, I like how some of those groups like can facilitate some of those interactions and can facilitate helping you be vulnerable and helping you go deeper, by creating some of those, what feels like a safe environment to do it. So for that reason, I really like them. It depends on how well they're facilitated in terms of like how comfortable someone ends up feeling there. When I moved to Texas, I joined a fitness moms group, and thank goodness I had kind of done the work of knowing, that people are open, for pre-kids, because I showed up at that group and it felt very established. I think that's kind of like the biggest piece of feedback I hear from moms about mom groups is it's like, I don't know, they seem set. They seem like they don't have more space. They've got all their inside jokes already. And I knew, like I saw like the women that were in this group. I'm like, oh, I know we could be friends. It's just they need to know me better. They need to like just keep seeing me and see that like I'm gonna show up. And I did. I showed up every stinking day for three
Whether you wanted
months.
to work out or not.
No, I had no interest in working out, literally no interest. Like we'd be doing push-ups and a mom would talk to me and I'd be like, okay, cool. Like I'm just gonna like kind of do like a push up here and there. Like, I'm not really here to do this. Like, I am here to talk to you. I'm just like pretending like I'm here to do this. And, all right. And I say this really annoying thing too, because like after 5 months, I literally had never been in better shape in my entire life. And it completely snuck up on me. I was like, oh, that was actually like doing something. I wasn't even like really trying. But like, yeah, fast forward like probably honestly 8 weeks into just showing up consistently. And I very much felt a part of the group. I then started going to the like mom's nights that they would do outside of the workout groups. And I just kept telling myself, I'm like, just keep showing up and like show up well. I wasn't showing up everywhere in Texas with that same energy. Like I was conserving it for this group. I was going to show up here. I was going to show up well. And I knew that it would work. And like I know so many moms like really struggle there because like they show up and it feels like it's established, and it is, but that doesn't mean there isn't space for you. But if you keep bringing that energy of like, yeah, you're not really interested in me, like that will get reacted to. So
Yeah.
yeah, those are my like, I guess, scattered thoughts on moms groups.
No, I like that. And I also like that you said it wasn't until about 8 weeks in that you really felt like you were a core member, let's say, of that group. Because I think so many moms will try out these things once or twice and feel like, I don't know. And then, feel like they didn't connect with anyone and then move on. And while sometimes I do think that's true and that could happen, right? Of course. Oftentimes there's usually someone there that you could connect with, but you do have to consistently show up. You do have to do the work. You do have to challenge yourself to stick it out a little bit.
Yeah, and there's ways to like if there is one person you're connecting with, you can kind of like get their contact info and then like nurture something on the side. But yeah, like again, your energy is so limited. And so you got to choose, you got to decide this is the thing I'm going to show up to. And if you just find yourself, I do talk with moms that are like, I tried this group, I tried this group, I tried this group, I tried this group, nothing works. And we dig in and I learn like how often they went to those things. I'm like, yeah, of course you didn't feel like a core member of the group. Like you didn't give it enough time. And like if you got an immediate vibe of like, ooh, this is just like not even people I would be interested in getting to know, then yeah, walk away immediately. But if you show up and you're like, oh, like if they weren't already established, we could be friends. If that's what you're thinking, then keep showing up because you're like, oh no, you see a future here. It's just the timepiece that you got to push through. And it stinks. It's part of the process. And that's why I say just focus on one at a time because it's easier to like have good energy for the one versus like everywhere you show up, you're like, are you my new BFF? How am I going to know? You know?
Right. All right. Well, for someone listening today who's craving these deeper connections, but feels a little awkward when it comes to putting themselves out there, what is one thing they should do today to take the first step?
I would say give yourself one micro goal, decide where are you likely to meet someone that you know, would connect with, or maybe you've like met a few people, you've got a bunch of loose acquaintances. That's pretty common. And one that you were like, man, if we could just get to know each other better, this could work. And give yourself a goal of the next time you see that person, smiling and saying hello and acting excited to see them. You don't even have to worry about what you're going to talk about or You don't even have to talk. You can even just smile and keep walking if you want. Just give kind of like that one step to just show someone that, like, hey, if you're open to something, I am too. And you just kind of keep giving yourself those micro goals, and you keep showing up well to those the spaces you can, and you'll be surprised how quickly things can accelerate. I know, like, it doesn't feel like 8 weeks feels like a long time today, but in hindsight, 8 weeks is really short.
Yeah. This feels so much like dating as you talk about it a little bit. And like many of us, like I've been married 12 years. Dated my husband for, 3 years prior to that. Like, what's dating? What's that even like? But it's kind of like you have to do that a little bit when you're making new friends.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely an element of like trying to figure out, is there good chemistry here? Early on when I moved to Texas, one of my kind of girlfriends I was getting to know, there was another girl that we would see, and she was just like, I don't know, I just don't feel a spark. I was like, oh, that's like an interesting way to describe it, but like, I get what you mean. There's like nothing wrong. And it was mutual too, like, and we just, there was no like, oh, she's awful. Like, none of this like gossipy weird stuff. It was just like, oh, it's just like, I'd love for this to work. It's just not like feeling right,
Right.
and just
Yeah.
moving on,
And on the contrary, sometimes you make friends and you like can't wait to see them again. Like you are just like, this is like your sister from another mister, long
Yes.
lost BFF you've just found.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's like so good to pay attention to. Paying attention to like, how do you feel when you're interacting with this person? Like, if it felt easy and effortless at a first meeting, oh my goodness, like, pay attention to that. Get her number right away.
Right.
Mhm.
All right. Well, I feel like we could talk about this all day long, and this is so interesting to me, but we are going to hop on over to our lightning round now. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So these are some just for fun, random type questions so our listeners can get to know you a little bit better. Here we go. What is your guilty pleasure TV show?
Hmm. I don't know if it's guilty pleasure, but like Schitt's Creek is my go-to of like, I just need to watch something that I'm gonna love.
Yeah, I feel like every
I love it.
episode is lovable on that show.
I know. And they just released a book, and I just got it. And I'm like, oh, I just love that show.
Is that what you're reading right now? The book you're reading right now? That was my next question.
Oh yeah. So I read like 8 books at a time. But the book I am reading right now that I am like loving is Burnout. Have you read it?
Mm-mm.
Oh, it's so good. It kind of made the rounds, I felt like 2 years ago in like the working mom space. And it was about the stress cycle. And I was like, nah, I'm like over reading about mom guilt and stress. I'm just done. But it's so good. It's like such a different take on the stress cycle that we as women experience, and just like so many practical tips for like actually how to get stress out of your body. So I'm loving it. Highly
Ooh,
recommend.
who's the
I'm like
author?
halfway in. Emily Nagoski
Okay,
and
cool.
her sister, Amelia Nagoski.
Nice. All right.
Yeah.
Would you say, I'm super interested in this since you are like the friendship coach. Would you say you're an introvert or an extrovert?
Mm. I think of introvert and extrovert as how you get your energy. And I am both. Like, when I technically take the assessments, I'm like right in the middle. So I definitely get energy from being alone. I carve out that time. I prefer to get energy from like a group of 2 to 3 people, like a good conversation versus like a large party. So yeah, kind of in between.
Cool. Okay. Nail salon, hair salon, or spa. You can only pick one to visit for the rest of your life. Which one is it?
I know I wanted to choose spa, but the reality is that I do get my nails done. There's just something about like a nice looking hand. So I'm
All
gonna go with
right.
nails.
Okay, cool. What if you could only eat one food for the rest of your life? What would it be?
Mm, French fries. Always been addicted.
Yeah,
Love
that's a good
them.
one. That's a good one. I could
Hmm.
probably eat those forever too. What's something you never leave the house without?
Oh, chapstick. I just get chapped lips.
Yeah.
Probably my phone. That's probably a boring answer too. I'm sure we're all like, phones.
Is it the chapstick brand, or do you have like a special brand that you use?
Yeah, I love Blistex, but like I don't know, my Target doesn't carry it anymore. So I've had to move over to chapstick and I'm not happy about it. I like miss my Blistex.
All
I don't know.
right. Well, on that note, please tell our listeners where they can find you.
Yeah, so everything, all my freebies, all the support community is at my website, theconnectedmomlife.com. So yeah, love to hang out with you. Same thing on Instagram too. That's kind of where I'm most active in terms of kind of sharing tips and tricks for navigating friendship in the midst of super busy mom life.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Emily, for being here. I definitely learned a lot, and I know our listeners did too.
Thanks. Loved it.
You've been listening to the Mama Work It podcast. I hope you've enjoyed this episode and would love if you could take a quick minute to leave me a review on whichever platform you're listening from, and maybe even send a note to a fellow mama friend recommending it. Reviews and recs help this podcast grow and reach more like-minded, awesome moms. And if you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click that button so we can stay in touch, girl. By the way, if you haven't checked out the Mama Work It website, please do. There are lots of free resources and great articles there that can help you with the juggle of work life, mom life, wife life, fill in the blank life. So head on over. Thanks again for being part of the tribe. I'll see you soon, but in the meantime, keep on working it, mama.